I just wanted to point out that there are resources out. So job landscape, the government in Singapore did are both up and coming. They're new and interesting, but also transferable. So you can move from whatever it is that you're doing now into a job that's relevant. And what are the ones that fit within both those categories? And in Singapore, it's not going to be like this for every country, but in Singapore at least, they identified green economy as one of 3 sectors in the economy that fit within this space, right? So, and of those, they list a bunch of skills that some of which are very specific to the Singapore economic context, but not all are, right? So sustainability management, utilities management, waste management, these are universal. And so what they're doing in Singapore is trying to encourage their workforce to upskill, get extra training, even if they're sort of early mid-career, do extra courses so that they can move themselves towards these jobs of the future that are both up and coming and transferable, and more likely to get a job, to be frank. I put the link there just in case you want to have a play around with their website. I'm sure in your country there may be more specific and dedicated resources that might be more useful, but just to give you a sense of what's out there. Okay, I wanted to emphasize this, that you're probably all well aware. The SDGs these days are highly mainstreamed into the jobs of the future, much more so than the jobs of the past. If I compare my friends working in companies that are legacy state-owned enterprise type older companies, they're much less literate in these important goals. However, the companies and the agencies that are working on the tech and the solutions of the future are increasingly fully aware of these and what they mean for their jobs. But if you're not, familiarize yourself with them, because they are a crucial part, especially in developing countries, of channeling finance and investment to important activities. Before we move on to the next session, I just wanted to sort of highlight a few of the forcing and sort of withholding factors that are going on within the sustainability job market at the moment. So you have obviously huge environmental and climate push factors encouraging companies to invest in these areas. You also have some cross-cutting concerns that are putting a lot more emphasis on sustainability, the sort of boom in AI. There's a question around sort of how carbon markets are evolving and whether they need more regulation. But one of the other things, and on the bottom left of this frame, it talks about a governance power shift, and it's not so explicit, but let me sort of build that out a little bit. It is a little bit US centric, and I'm always nervous about spending too much time on it. But over the last 12 to 24 months, there's been obviously some backward steps on the climate environment front coming out of the world's biggest economy in the US. And that's not just policy stuff, but it's also pushback against ESG, responsibilities for corporates. And that's also led to a lot of, for example, coalitions of the willing of corporates like financial institutions pulling back on their commitment to climate efforts. Now, that is happening, and that is having some crossover impacts into the global economy. However, I don't want to overplay it, because the US economy is not the only sort of waypost in sort of how things are going globally these days. You have a multipolar economy. I think obviously you have Europe that is very progressive on environment and climate, and you have China, where I'm based now, which is increasingly a source of global investment and finance in in infrastructure and energy. That is really, I would say, on a linear trajectory towards increasing the importance of environmental considerations for corporates. That's not to say that all Chinese corporates currently, behave exceptionally and up to international standards. Some do, some don't, much like Western companies have in the past. But I think it's important to keep in mind that when negative news comes out of the US these days, it's not the only story that we have to listen to. Okay, now I thought about this a little bit. What are some of the things that have helped me to forge a career in this space and can be useful skills? And I came up with 5 things that came to mind. So I just wanted to talk through them a little bit. The first one is, and you're already in this activity, so I think you already ticked this box. It's just be self-motivated and driven. And there's good reasons for this, right? Because obviously, if you want to work in this space, you do need to stay up to date with what's happening. Climate change itself is changing, but also our knowledge and our actions to address it are changing all the time as well. It requires a bit of initiative because a lot of the jobs that I've talked about so far are relatively new jobs. It's not like going and getting a job in, an accounting firm or an old state-owned enterprise where jobs haven't changed for decades. There's new jobs that we're talking about, and so it takes initiative not only to get a job, but also once you're in the job, actually define what that is, because oftentimes the colleagues around you won't be so clear either. So initiative is really important, and obviously it's a mission-oriented field anyway. So you care about this, so that's why you're here, but keep that passion when you're looking for your jobs and getting jobs. The second one is just around, again, keeping up to date with what's happening. This has been really important for me over the journey, is making sure that you have some trusted sources and cross-check that, right? Because there is these days a lot of disinformation and misinformation on the internet. It's not enough to just do a Google search and read something and repeat that verbatim. If you're in a job interview, you actually need to understand quite a bit to work in the climate space these days. So read as much as possible the IPCC reports. Try and understand what's going on in the energy transition from the IEA and other sources. Just much more easily than that, perhaps just keep up with media that you trust, right? So obviously, IEA and the IPCC put out very long reports that can be very time-consuming and tiring. It's still good to do, but if you have some media sources that you trust on this topic, try to keep up to date with